Hello, everybody, and happy birthday, STFC. Star Trek Fleet Command 10's 5 years old today. 5 years old from global launch. Global launch, 29th of November. 2018. Wow, it's been a mad 5 years. It's been a crazy 5 years. But happy birthday, everybody that's been playing for the long term, the short term, and whatever. A bit of fun fact for you: there was two other launches prior to this. There was the Alpha launch, which was approximately a year earlier, so it's about a 6-year anniversary for them. So happy anniversary to anybody still playing who was here at the Alpha launch. And the Beta launch was in around August time of 2018, about 3 months prior to now. So happy anniversary to you a few months ago, but it's a little fun fact for you. So it is the birthday month, it's the birthday day, and marvelous, marvelous, marvelous that they have decided to come out with some events for this. Now, am I over endowed by what they've done? Not really. Do I think that they've really gone all out for the 5th year anniversary? No, not really. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about um, the main positive, as it were, that we can probably say for this, which is the officer selection. We did have this last year. However, this year they have decided to repeat that, where you can basically get a free unlock of either an epic officer if you are ops 20 plus. If you are ops 19 and below, you'll get the option of a free rare unlock from a large selection of officers. So if you are level 18, you're wondering why you don't see all the epics, that's why. You need to be ops 20 and above to be able to see the epic officer redeems. So they have obviously introduced them. There's a list here of all of the different officers. This list was updated. As you can see, I've just done that. This list was changed. You saw the changes there, and they've added them in. There are a lot of officers, and obviously the rare officers are down there at the bottom as well for the guys that are of the lower ops level. But we're going to have a quick talk about which officers we think that I would prioritize. Now, again, this is all based on my opinion, and this will all be very relevant to your account. Now, my first rule of any of this is be very careful. Do not choose an officer from this bundle that rolls around. It's been twice in the game's history, a free epic unlock for doing absolutely nothing. Don't pick an officer that's in transporter patterns. If you disagree, share down in the comments. Let me know why you think that that's the wrong situation. In my opinion, any officer in transporter patterns I wouldn't use for this. Transporter patterns are easily grindable. If you want to see a video on how to farm transporter patterns, again, drop that down in the comments. I'm more than happy to try and make an informative video on how to amass hundreds and thousands of transporter patterns. And again, just to show you, it's not a fallacy. It is absolutely doable. But at the moment, I have in transporter patterns 1.3 million. 1.3 million. I could go and max Jean-Luc Picard right now if that's what I really wanted to do. So when I'm looking at this, I am discounting the transporter pattern officers. So when I look at the officers and I'm looking at the epics, I'm not going to talk about the rares specifically today. We're going to talk specifically about these epic officers. Riker, transporter patterns. Rom, transporter patterns. Mud, transporter patterns. Jailer. Jailer has lost a hell of a lot of oomph in the game, if I'm being bluntly honest with you. She's probably only going to be useful for you between Ops 35 and Ops 38. Reason being that you then get the Xborg factions where you can get the swarm sweeps, which means that you don't even need to go and grind swarms anymore. So I don't see Jailer as a massive priority, not something that I would use this opportunity on. However, Jailer is only sourced in this way and through doing the swarm armadas, which is using up your valuable rare directives. So there is no other genuine sourcing path for Jailer other than doing those armadas. So if you absolutely must have her, you're a collector, you want to do it, that could be an option for you. Geordie, transporter patterns. Pike's a funny one. So Pike, if you are 20 plus and you do not have Pike, if you have completed all of your field training missions, which you can access, I think you will have at the early stages of the game a big Starfleet badge. But if not, if you go into where you can access your missions, etc., the field training tabs, all of the 3 original ones, Officer Station and Combat, do pay out Pike shards. So you can get decent amounts from there. And then obviously you can finish off with Ultras, and he is in the, like I say, he's in the Ultra Pack. So I mean, so you will get him eventually, but Pike is very essential to your game. I would not be disappointed in people if they did decide to unlock Pike because they don't have him, because he is a game changer for hostile grind. Number 1 hostile grinder between sort of start of the game all the way up to around sort of the Ops 40, 42, 43 mark, when you may decide that you want to switch out your crews for something more beneficial. James T. Kirk, absolutely not. Do not spend on this. He's available through both the faction recruits, through the Federation, and through the transporter patterns as well. So absolutely no with him. Same with Sharvanik and same with Gorkon, who is a little bit further down. Burnham. Now, Burnham does have a nice ability. That initiative ability, the shield stripping ability, is a nice ability. However, not really very well used. You won't see many people go straight to Michael Burnham to be able to use her. The biggest use case that I've had for Michael Burnham was to use her for impulse speed for like the Rialto events and things like that, because you can synergize and get some extra speed out of her. Not an officer that I would focus on in here. Sharvanik, same as Kirk. Crass, transporter patterns, 4 of 11, now transporter patterns. Beckett Mariner, transporter patterns. Data, funny one. So data, the only sourcing path for data is currently through away team assignments. So away team assignments do source data. You are obviously on a pot luck as to whether you get a data assignment, and you can source around 12 shards on a 3-day epic assignment. So if you do not have epic assignments in your rainbows, you will not see this ATA. However, if you do, you will see this periodically pop, and it is a sourcing path for data. However, Data's not a very used officer either. His officer ability looks good, and you can see I've got him here at tier 3. 100% penetration stat, 180% against to all penetration stats against non-player targets. This is for in triangle hitting. It's not superb against surveys, and there are other crews, especially with the introduction of like the new Picard, the new Data. You've got obviously old Picard, Beverly with Talan and Chen. You've got Pike Moreau. You've got Strange New Worlds. There is a plethora of other crews that I would go to before I use Data. However, because he's very difficult to source, I understand why people may want to add him to the collection, but not somewhere where I would go. Eurydice, transporter patterns, 6 of 11 transporter patterns. Grush, again, a funny one. Grush is a fantastic stats officer. He's also got 2 really good abilities for increasing protected cargo and warp range, so he is a very good officer. However, he is 100% maxable through your syndicate tree. So I wouldn't push for Grush either. You've seen a bit of a pattern coming up here, haven't you? TOS Spock, transporter patterns. 10 of 11. Oh, this is the first one where I'm going to say I would understand why people would do it. Now, 10 of 11's officer ability, which is the one that we're looking at, increasing mining speed across the board. Now, remember, this mining speed realistically is going to be used on materials. You are not going to use it really for anything that's got any special mining ability, things like mycelium, things like latinum, things like isogen, where you have specialty ships to do this. This 140% would just be added to the thousands and thousands of percent that you've already got in bonuses, and it will be really lost in the ether. So 10 of 11 is a good officer, very good stat officer as well, really, really good health officer. I understand why people would go for 10 of 11. He is an option if you are really, really struggling to choose from some of the other options that I'm going to throw out at you. But 10 of 11, not an absolute no-no, but he is available again through the Borg chests, and he's also available in Ultras. Gorkon, no transporter patterns and faction recruit chest. Kang, faction recruit chest. Deanna Troy, faction recruit chest. Sorry, Kang, Ultras and transporter patterns. Deanna Troy, transporter patterns. Tendi, transporter patterns. Giorgio, I get Giorgio. The only real sourcing for Giorgio is here in the Disco recruit chest. You can see that GG is in there. So Giorgio is one, and she's also available in transporter patterns. So Giorgio is still an absolute no from me. Where we're going to go for, because we are trying to avoid transporter pattern officers that we can steadily grind if that's what we want to focus on, obviously throughout the time. Let's dive back through. There's lots of options, isn't there? Hell of a lot of options for us to dive through. Sealer, throwaway officer, don't bother. Her abilities, which are cloak specific. I don't know many people that use cloak, and critical hit damage as a captain. There's so many other PvP options that you would use before Sealer that I see her as a throwaway officer, not somebody that I would focus on. Plus, she's in transporter patterns. 11 of 11. He's available through Borg chests, the Borg solo chests. So if you don't have access to that, you're pre-35 and you want to add him to your collection to synergize with the likes of 3 and 4, I would understand why 11 of 11 would be an option for you. So again, probably the first one that I've said that's not ultimately sourceable somewhere else. I understand why 1111 is in there. Gary, transporter patterns. Carol Marcus, transporter patterns. TOS Kirk, transporter patterns. 3 of 11, fantastic officer, transporter patterns. Quark, transporter patterns. Lorca, This is one. So Lorca's ability. Lorca's ability is outstanding. Now Lorca's ability is hull breach. It's more his officer's ability that we're going to be focusing on when we're looking at this. The 100% damage, even with synergy, when you pair him with like Captain Tilly or something like that, it's not massively impactful anymore with the state of research in the game. But his officer ability of the chance to deal hull breach for a couple of rounds is very good. Now, if you have a max BLT, maybe not necessarily important to you for hostile grinding, but you may decide that you want to use him for armadas, which obviously Torres does work again if you don't have a max BLT, but likewise PvP. So if you don't have Ducat, for example, if you don't have Ducat for proccing the hull breach, obviously pretty much guaranteed if you use full synergy, Lorca is a decent option, and his sourcing is very, very minimal. He is only available if you have the Section 31 skin, the Section 31 skin for the Discovery. He then appears in the Discovery recruit packs. So I understand why Lorca could be an option for some people. Marcus, transporter patterns. Honor Guard Wharf. Now, Honor Guard Wharf is a really good option, and he's being used in the so-called PvP meta crew. He's been used in that with Carol Freeman, and he's a very good officer. He is available now through the Amalgam Refinery. Now, the Amalgam Refinery was absolutely pitiful, and now it's been upgraded from pitiful to average. The fact that you can now get multiple chests of that Amalgam Refinery every time that that's due, my Honor Guard Wharf progress has really increased with what's going on with the Amalgam, because there is a research here in the Xborg tree called Chest Collective. The Chest Collective increased the number of redeemable chests in the Amalgam Refinery. And obviously you can get a bonus. There's 2 levels to it, a 1 bonus and a 2 bonus, which then means that you are able to spend down your plundered cargo from doing your Amalgam grind in your Amalgam Refinery. That's obviously massively increasing this, which obviously then gets you the refinery tokens, which you can then use to refine to get even more. So Lorca, sorry, Honor Guard Wharf, I understand why people would want to do it. However, if you do have the Amalgam, I think that is a far better source for you sourcing that particular officer. Honor Guard Wharf, decent, very good when tiered up, good stats, but I feel that you could use the Amalgam Refinery to speed that up. And because it does have consistent sourcing, providing you maintain your Amalgam grind, not somebody that I would focus on in this particular one-off giveaway. Transporter patterns available every Sunday through Swarm Sunday. Use that to slow grind him out. It's not the powerhouse that he used to be. I wouldn't be using this for that either. So, and obviously he's available in transporter patterns. Discovery mode, again, transporter patterns. 5 of 11, my first one. My first one that I'm going to say to you, I would fully 100% understand why anybody would want to go for it. Every single tier of 5 of 11 is massive. She has 2 outstanding abilities. Her captain's ability, increasing your mitigation, meaning that you will be taking less damage from every hostile, from every armada. In PvP, she has so many use cases. But what everybody loves 5 of 11 for, you will be assimilated. Increasing the resource drops. So the resource drops, it starts off at 20% at tier 1 and scales all the way up to 100% at tier 5 at 20% intervals, and this counts for everything. This counts for armada loot, this counts for reputation, this counts for general ship parts that you're grinding if you're in the G4 region and ship parts are a problem. 5 of 11 is a mainstay. I use it every single day. I wish I had 2 of these, which is why the introduction of the new Jean-Luc Picard from the movies series has been so impactful to my reputation grinding. 5 of 11 is my first absolute yes, you should go for this officer. If you do not have a maxed, this is likely where I will be spending my 10,000 tokens, getting closer and closer to maxing out 5 of 11 to get that extra 20% loot drop every single time that I use her. Also, an outstanding stats officer. That's 5 of 11. That's my first hardcore yes, go for it recommendation. Nero, available in faction recruits and available in transporter patterns. Pike, Strange New Worlds Pike to be specific. The introduction of the Mantis. If you have a Mantis, the Mantis grind has become the best sourcing path for a group of officers I think that's ever been introduced in the game. So this whole Fragments to Strange New Worlds officers bundle, this has allowed me to max out Pike and all the rares very quickly. These have been maxed for me for months. I'm still working on Hemmer, which is annoying, but the Pike and the 3 rares, they drop, and they drop these big chests, these full unlocks at regular intervals. Even now when I'm pulling transporter patterns, do you know what I mean? The amount that you get in, I just got one there. Could I have proved it in any other way? I got 45,000 transporter patterns. That couldn't have been timed any better, could it? The fact that I'm recording. That means that I've just got a full unlock of Strange New Worlds Pike from this bundle by pulling 5 chests. Couldn't have timed that any better. Absolutely superb. I do not think you need to use this one-off bundle. If you have a Mantis to go after getting Strange New Worlds Pike, use that bundle, do your Mantis dailies, and make sure that you are able to pull that as regular as what you can. Borg Queen. The Borg Queen is a very good officer. She's a very good officer. So she does not have a captain's ability. She has an officer ability of increasing 3% critical hit chance. This is at tier 2. 3% crit chance every time you receive hull damage against from a Borg solo armada. So she is quite niche. She is quite niche. She acts in the same sort of vein as Khan, except when you take hull damage. She does have a below deck ability which procs when you have assimilate, and this is a PvP ability. So she does have PvP uses and she has Borg solo armada uses. And this critical hit chance does stack up very well. Now, the reason the Borg Queen's a good option for you is because she doesn't have great sourcing. The only sourcing for the Borg Queen is through this one chest, expansion cubes. So this is where you can get a few shards of this. Quite often it looks deceiving. You might think, oh, I'm only going to get 1, 2, or 3 shards. You do get multiple rolls of hair from one chest. I average from here 6 to 7 shards from this. This is on a 7-day cooldown, so it's not a quick process to get the Borg Queen unlocked. And likewise, you need to be able to coordinate with your teams to be able to go and do the expansion cubes. So I think the Borg Queen again is another good option for people to go for if you have nothing else to go for. But the Borg Queen is another solid recommendation. Now we're getting to some of the good ones. Gulder Cat. We don't have Gulder Cat. The sourcing for Gulder Cat is absolutely garbage. And you should absolutely, if your primary ship is an interceptor and you do not have Gulder Cat, a full unlock of that will absolutely revolutionize your PvP game, especially if you have the relevant lower decks officer and one of the other rares, ideally Garrick. So if you have that to make up a full unlock of Garrick, a full unlock of the cat will really revolutionize your PvP. It'd be a very good secondary crew, obviously second to the PvP meta, using Carol Freeman and Honor Guard Worf. Odo, fantastic officer, terrible sourcing. This is a below deck ability to increase your critical hit damage. So you can see mine here, currently at tier 2, almost at tier 3, is a 25% hit to critical damage. We know how critical hit damage works. This is net damage when you fire a critical. So a net 25% increase on the lower deck, not taking up a bridge slot. If you don't have Odo, really good for like heavy hitter events. So definitely something that you could focus on. Weyoun, exactly the same as Gulder Cat. Now, Weyoun does have his uses. He's not somebody that I often use in the captain's chair, unlike Gulder Cat. His big impact is in the below deck, increasing shots. You could use morale, you use something like Picard or something like that in the captain's chair rather than using Weyoun, because the other 2 sidecars are pretty average for the Explorer strike team. But if you don't have it and Explorers are your main focus, or that's your next big ship coming up, I understand why you would pick Weyoun. Admiral Picard, again, he is, to me, the alternative interceptor strike team captain. Sorry, Explorer strike team captain, because of this morale ability at the top. 90% chance to apply morale for 3 rounds, doesn't require any synergy. Very, very good ability. And obviously then it does increase your weapon damage by 500% on combat start against explorers for the duration of combat. So if you're fighting a lot of explorers, you do get that extra buff in there. But the main reason for Admiral Picard is on the bridge as captain. But maybe not what I would use this specific chest for, if I'm being really honest with you. I prefer to use Weyoun, or get Weyoun up a tier and get the extra shots rather than using Picard, I think. Benjamin Sisko. Sisko, obviously being part of the Deep Space Nine crew, the Deep Space Nine sourcing is very good. My Sisko currently is on his way, almost halfway, so 140 shards, 160 shards-ish away from being halfway to maxed through tier 5, and this is through the Dominion solo Armadas, Dominion Solo Armadas. Now, if you are not 40 plus, you will not have the option to get Cisco. And Cisco is a very good captain, very good when paired with Miles O'Brien, because you are getting a 5 of 11 type ability as the captain's maneuver, and then a Khan-like ability, even better than Khan. Critical hit chance against Armadas, 8% per round. Okay, so it's a really big increase. It's like a combination between those two officers. If you are sub 40, Cisco is a fantastic recommendation for you. Jean-Luc Picard now in transporter patterns. This is the chance for you to get the biggest number of shards. So 180 shards for a full unlock of Jean-Luc Picard, but he's available in transporter patterns. So I would suggest doing him from there. Una Chinriley. Una for me is a synergy officer that I use to pair with Strange New Wales Pike if I need speed. You're never going to use her as an officer ability, but as a captain, but the officer ability of increasing speed, if you're using a full Strange New Wales crew to go hostile grinding, that's basically what you're going to use her for. Bit of a throwaway. Sorry to say. If you disagree, please tell me down in the comments. But Una, not somebody that I would be recommending to you. Just grind her out through incursions or something like that. I don't think she's somebody that you should be spending this potentially once a year option on. Pick Riker, absolute waste of space. Don't bother with that. Don't even need to go any more into that. He's useless. Same as Pick Worf, absolutely useless. Don't bother with that. Strike Team La'an, still used as captain in the Battleship Strike Team. So she has the same sort of impact as Ducot. She has two fantastic abilities. Obviously, burning if you've got full synergy to get that. And then obviously she is the increased shots officer, very similar to Wayoon. But I just don't like, I do like running full strike team with battleships. So strike team La'an, if you don't have her at a battleship as your main ship, I totally understand why you would go for that. And then a good solid option. Barclay, transporter patterns, but honestly, utterly useless. You're going to use him below deck because that officer's ability is terrible, but below deck ability, 45% to base cargo. And it doesn't scale that well even when you start to tier him up. Mine's at tier 2 and it's only at 45% for an epic. Don't spend on Barclay, even though I love him as an officer. Hemmer, if you do not have Hemmer, Hemmer can be a very good addition to your crew. Hemmer can be a very good addition to your crew, and I've found that through the Strange New Worlds bundles, that full drops of Hemmer seem to be far rarer. You get them far less frequently than what you get for Strange New Wales Pike. You've just seen that I got a full pull of Strange New Wales Pike. I have never got one for Hemmer. These have just been slowly ground out using that chest. And if you don't have him, he's a fantastic anti-survey officer. He is our anti-survey connection to the Strange New Worlds crew. So he is very good. He's very, very good. And if you don't have him or you don't have a Mantis and you do want to go out there and grind with the Strange New Worlds crew, he could be an option for you. Pick Worf, I've told you, absolute write-off. Jadzia, very misunderstood is Jadzia. Very misunderstood. As a captain, increasing shield piercing, armor piercing, and accuracy by 700% of all officers versus solo armadas. This is bigger than you think. This is a really big increase when she is captain, and it can really help because them things hit hard. They have fantastic mitigation stats when you start to get to the higher solo armadas, and this 700% boost can really make a difference. And the weapon damage of 450% at my tier, which is tier 2, is not negligible either. So I totally understand why you would go for Jadzia Dax. And obviously she has no sourcing at all whatsoever in the game. So I totally understand why you would go for her. That's a look through the store. Happy anniversary, everybody. It's marvellous that we've managed to survive this long. Here's to the next 5 years. I hope that we have got some really good stuff come up in the next few months. I really hope for that. I'm very excited, actually, for something coming next month. I will say that. I'll drop that in for people that have been here for the entire video, listening to why different officers and why not certain officers. And I hope it's give you a little bit of a steer. Please drop any comments down below if you want me to answer anything specifically about your situation. I'm more than happy to do that. Or ping us on Discord. Obviously, you know where we are, the Officer Tool Discord. Link to that will be in the description of the video. If you haven't, or please subscribe if you haven't already. Consider becoming a member. I will give a massive shout out to Minnie, our latest member on the YouTube channel. Joins Andy, Candy, and VA as the members of our YouTube channel. It helps the channel grow. It helps out massively. Thank you so much to you guys. But aside from that, everybody has a fantastic, fantastic day. Enjoy the anniversary. Enjoy the new packs for the anniversary. Happy anniversary, everybody. Give me money. Just joking. Okay, so have a marvelous evening, everybody. Stay safe. And remember, guys, everything is better with lube. Take care and have a wonderful day.